Hey everyone, Nick here from Whole Latte Love. Zach is hard at work making me a latte right now, but if you're tuning in live, thank you so much for joining us today. We've got some really exciting stuff, so if you're new to the channel or you haven't yet, first I just want to say, please consider subscribing. We host these live streams every weekday, every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I see we've got James Peterson in the comments below. If you ever see me looking down there, it's because we're reading your comments. We'll do our best to get back to you in real time. Now, today, new to us, new to Whole Latte Love, we have the Stone Espresso Machines. I am very excited to show you these. We've got the Stone Lite. That's what we'll be carrying, so they're not available just yet, but if you check back within a week or so, you'll probably see them on wholelattelove.com. And then also Rocket Espresso's all-new Spluga grinder. Now, Zach, what have we got going on right here?
Well, I just made a little latte right now, and one of the best things is look at the size of that machine and the ability to actually create such nice foam and pull my espresso at the same time.
That's right.
So kind of crazy, right?
The Stone is what I would refer to ultimately as a lifestyle espresso machine. So there are some machines that are really going to let you go to the nines when it comes to changing your settings, getting your shots really perfectly dialed into your preferred settings in terms of temperature, let's say, making changes to flow rates. The Stone makes things a little bit simpler, okay? This is a heat exchanger espresso machine. There is just a steam wand on it, so there's not a hot water dispenser. It's got an electrically heated stone group that we're going to talk a little bit more about. But actually, Ron, take me to the iPhone for a minute because I just want to show off some of Zach's...
Oh, a little art of mine.
Art okay. Right here.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So look at that. Oh, there we go. We got to come in this way. Beautiful, though. So Zach, tell me just a little bit about that steaming experience on the Stone.
So it's pretty quick. It reminds me that...
Ron, come back to us.
Oh, yes. Where are we? Oh,
there we are. Yes.
So it reminds me a lot of basically a dual boiler. And the fact that I can be pulling those shots at the same time as steaming, and I seem to be very unaffected by the fact that I was brewing at the same time. Yeah. And I think that has to do something about how we really, they really designed this machine.
Yes.
Specifically, it still being a heat exchanger, but kind of like an elevated heat exchanger, I would say, right?
I would say so. So the Stone, honestly, if you're familiar with Rocket Espresso, so just to get that out there, the Stone is a brand for Rocket, essentially. So Stone and Rocket are kind of like ECM and Profitec, two brands under the same umbrella. So you can expect a lot of the kind of more fashion-forward elements of Rocket to be found in Stone, but also kind of their steaming know-how. I feel like Rocket has always produced machines with really good steam power. But yeah, so the Stone is a heat exchanger espresso machine, but it uses a unique group design where the group itself is actually heated by a 200-watt heating element. So water that flows from that heat exchanger actually continues to heat at the group, right?
And Ron, we should definitely get a bit of a close-up on this group head. It does look very different. You know, it kind of reminds me of what would be like a saturated group head, right? Where you would think that the boiler is right on top inside the group head, but instead there's actually a cartridge. So the PID is actually within this part of the group head, but not inside the body of the machine. This is a classic heat exchanger.
Yes, and so that PID is there. It's actually similar to machines like the Becerra Matrix or Duo DE, where they have an electrically heated group. You will find, and actually too, the Rocket Bicoca, that some machines that have electrically heated groups will use PID regulation in order to control that temperature. So actually, I'm seeing we're getting some comments in here. So Theo, just real quick, I have Elite Mara X V2 following your smart outlet article. Wanted to ask if using a smart outlet like Eve Energy is a good and safe solution. So as long as you've done your research, the Eve Energy is not a smart outlet that or a smart plug that I've used, but the manufacturers that we work with, like ECM, Profitec, etc., do allow you to use smart outlets. They do recommend that. That was something that we talked about with Michael from ECM and Profitec a long time ago, simply leaving the machine powered on and then having the outlet control power to the machine should be good. But I would see if there's other resources that you can find for people who've actually tested that specific outlet, because that's not one that we've used personally. For Oscar, it looks like he's talking about Stone, looks like Rocket is heavily investing in this machine. So Stone, like I said, is new to us here at Whole Latte Love. So we're debuting, obviously, with the Stone Lite. And then kind of tying that into Tate, I feel like it's barely an HX machine. I mean, I guess that's, I'd be curious how you'd want to define what that means. But essentially, if we want to come over here, we can take a quick look just at the actual boiler design. So we do have a water chamber inside the machine's boiler that's supplying our brew water. And then, like I said, though, the group itself is actively being heated. And so that helps finish the heating of the water for your extraction. And then we're still getting a good supply of steam. So really, the machine is producing enough steam and enough pressure to be able to froth milk on demand and even simultaneously while brewing, right?
Yeah, definitely. It has a really strong element too.
Yes.
So it's producing quite a lot of heat, but you don't actually have to kind of flush this machine out, you'll notice.
Yeah.
So the way that they actually design the internals of this machine, that pressure stat, you don't actually have to flush. And it's due to that extra control at the group as
Right.
well.
And so Zach's talking about that cooling flush, right? Because what's happening is that water in the boiler is not overheating like you would typically encounter in a traditional heat exchanger espresso machine.
And as you can see, this machine's been sitting here for a while. You might know from like a lot of different kinds of heat exchangers, you might see a little bit of steam being off-put at the group there. But instead, nice steady stream right away. We're kind of always ready to brew with that.
And thank you, Mark, with the assist there for the comments for Theo there. But yeah, I mean, really, again, going back to it, this is, like I said, what I would call a lifestyle machine. So Stone, the tagline was dreamed up by Brent Backhouse, who we interviewed actually for an article that we just published on coffee and cycling for this month. Obviously, the Tour de France is happening, so we had a chat with Rocket as well as some local cyclists from the Towpath Bike Shop and did a little event there. So Ron, I don't know if you've got footage here. Oh, wait. Too much. That was a little too quick of a tease. So
Just a little bit of a tease there.
just a little bit of a tease.
But one thing that really stands out, I kind of grew up within the cycling community and knowing Rocket too. It's kind of like in my blood to know Rocket.
Yeah.
Growing up with two, professionals as parents, cycling every single day and growing up in the racing community, I see those Rockets, and the Stone kind of gives me that same feel. So I can see why they put a lot of emphasis in investing inside this machine, because there's so many similar attributes to it that I feel like it fits within that community.
Yes.
And it also fits within the certain trend of like mid-century modern / kind of fun and funky. I mean, it looks different.
It does look different.
I
and
love
I mean,
that.
That's the tagline of the brand, is reinventing the coffee space. And a big part of it, I think, is really just the overall compactness of the design, the fact that it does heat very, very quickly. Again, this to me, though, is a machine that I would recommend to milk drinkers. It's got, like I said, limitations on the ability to control or affect brew temperature, but you've got on-demand steam very quickly at a very affordable price. And yes, so for Domenico, who just commented, yes, the name Spluga from the grinder does come from Spluga Pass. It's a nod to the Giro d'Italia, which obviously Rocket, they've attended there with pop-up cafes before. And again, in the article that I mentioned, you'll hear a little bit, there's a video actually linked of Rocket's history with cycling, and in our chat with Brent Backhouse, obviously, he talks a little bit about designing some custom machines for the winners, obviously, of the Giro d'Italia. So definitely really cool. But, still talking about the Stone here, too, one of the things that I think is really nice about the design is that the group is a proprietary group design, yes, but it's not entirely proprietary in the sense that it does accept any E61 style portafilter, right? So we'll get that out of there. And it also accepts traditional E61 screens, meaning that you can actually upgrade with any of the available E61 shower screens that are out there. So on our website, we've got a good assortment from IMS, we've got ENB Lab, there's the DVG Matrix screen, we've also got our screen from our friend Sauro over at Barista Improving Taste. These are all going to allow you to modify your extraction a little bit to help with some of the shots that you're pulling, or if you want to keep things tidier with like the DVG, which essentially prevents any oils from getting sucked back up through, or, for example, the nanotech coating. So just a couple of things to think about that'll accept the traditional E61 style gaskets as well. Ooh, did a little ECM. You found this on the wall there, didn't you?
Yeah, so E61, traditional bottomless ECM portafilter there, easily fits. So even if you have a different machine from a different time and you want to put that thing on there, you can.
Ooh, Tate is saying it takes E61 flow restrictors too. Interesting. You know, Tate, we may have to trade some notes. So in the group, behind obviously the group head assembly, on the inside of the machine, there is a 3-way solenoid valve as well. So when you're done pulling shots, they drain off into a little drip tray. But yeah, let's pull another shot, Zach. And then Ron, while we're getting ready, if you want to see if we can get tight on the top of the group, we'll just show how, oh, you get the top of my head. Let me get out of the way here. There we go. But yeah, get in a little closer to the top of the group there. And then basically, Zach, let's grind. We've got the double programmed in our Spluga here, and I'll trade places with you.
Little swapperoo.
That's right. So we're pulling 16, and this is the default basket that comes with the Stone. And we got our Spluga dialed in. This is going to take almost no time at all. Almost as fast, really, as a professional cyclist. Maybe not quite.
And, you know, actually attaching any of your portafilters or anything to this is super nice. I kind of like how they actually designed this little metal piece that comes down. It's not plastic. Yeah. It's not anything that's going to break either.
That's right.
Nice metal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's unique, too, because we'll get into this more when we talk about the Spluga specifically, but in a lot of grinders, I find that the portafilter forks adjust from underneath, whereas on the top here, you have this arm that basically comes down. It's adjustable via a screw on the side, and then you can lower it to hold that portafilter for hands-free grinding. Persepolis, thanks for joining us again. Always great to have you. Not a cyclist by any means, but I love the Italian Dolomites. So, you know, Todd actually went skiing in the Dolomites not too long ago on a trip, and I see he's in the comments too, so he may have some spots for you to check out maybe if you go back for skiing one of these days. Preferably looking at them from a mountain chalet with an apple strudel. Well, there you go. All right, Zach, let's see what we got going with our Stone here.
All right, so as you see on the top, the style's a little bit different. It also matches the style of the O in the Stone.
Yes.
Throughout this whole entire thing. And you'll notice if you go halfway, it's not doing anything. You have to hit the actuation switch with a micro switch behind that. Correct?
That's right. So it's very similar, obviously, to an E61, where when you raise the lever, you're pressing that switch to start brewing. But yeah, Zach, great point that you raised, though. On the steam knob here and on the top of the group, it's styled in the shape of the O from the Stone logo, which you also see in the... ooh, I get a little shot, too.
I figured.
In the Stone logo and the gauge, and also on the side of the machine there.
All right, so let's go ahead and give it a whirl. So you can grab this any which way from any kind of direction, and all we need to do is line this up with our micro switch.
And I would say, too, the texture in plastic here and on this knob, it's the same materials on both. It feels pretty rough and tumble to me, to be honest with you. Like, this is something that's designed to withstand you actuating it, you know, thousands of times throughout the life of it.
Now, as you can see, there's no timer or countdown on the machine itself, so we recommend just using what is already available on most scales, including the Accu scale or whatever you might find, or Lunar.
One thing I will say, though, too, is having tested this, thank you, Zach.
Of course.
The Stone does provide you a good workspace just in terms of being able to fit cups or scales. So the clearance, despite this being a more compact machine, is still a little over 3.5 inches, meaning that you can fit scales, you can fit different size cups as well. Comfortably, you could fit, you know, really a pair of cappuccino cups, actually, like on here, without running out of too much space, because since this is not an E61 machine, you have space that you've saved in the back behind the group that basically gives you more room to put your cups up there.
And speaking of saving room too, they designed this really well, just kind of fitting everything within these internals. Yes, it doesn't have a rotary pump, but if you heard while I was pulling the shot, that vibe pump is very quiet. I had no issues with any sort of sound while pulling shots and during testing, while steaming, anything. So I've really enjoyed the process of actually brewing as well.
And so maybe we'll brew and steam one more time, and then we can move on to our Spluga. But I'll tell you what, while you prep that, Zach, I'll just go over a few of the particulars on the inside of the machine, too, if you want to just get that queued up here for us, Ron, and I'll trade places with you. But like I was saying, heat exchanger here, and Mark will get even more into detail when we release our full video. But obviously, vibration pump in the machine, like Zach was saying, solenoid here at the group, heat exchanger boiler here. We've got the heating element obviously up here in our brew group along with our PID. And then a rail actually that runs the full length of the machine for the frame here. The internal drip tray is a little smaller. This is about 8 ounces. So if you are going to be using the machine very frequently, I would just also make sure that you empty this frequently. I say 8 ounces. It can fit more than 8, but there is a magnet that holds it in place. And so if you're not careful when you pull it out, if you knock it and it jostles, you could spill a little bit of water. So that's just my personal advice. And then on the front of the machine, you've got this frame here, which is actually bolted on. So I guess you could technically swap it for a different color if you wanted to mix and match. But in the back too, this is a 1.2 liter reservoir. I think it's actually really cool because the reservoir is actually smaller in terms of its total capacity versus the boiler. So it's a 1.5 liter boiler versus a 1.2 reservoir. So Persepolis, why not use a rotary pump? Well, the main thing is, Guy, that this is a very compact machine. So essentially, if you're getting the Stone, you're getting it because you've got a limited space that you can dedicate to your espresso setup, but you don't want to compromise in terms of steam performance and temperature. So this is really for somebody who is trying to make it work in terms of maybe their budget and also their space, right?
Definitely.
Rotary pumps are just much bigger, much heavier. Obviously,
and there's a cost to it too, where
yes,
this has a great price getting into a machine like this, especially for the size, the ability. It's very doable for most budgets.
So we'll rotate around to the other side too, because we've got a couple more things, and then I'll just have you brew and steam for us, Zach. But right up here on the top of the machine is a valve that's actually tapped to the bottom of our boiler. And so the idea here is, because it looks a little bit like an OPV, because there's a little swoosh on the drip tray. And let me see if I can show you that. So it's right there, there's that swoosh, right? What that valve does is it lets you actually tap the steam wand to the bottom of the boiler so that you can perform a drain to actually flush some of the water out of the bottom of the boiler to replenish it. So obviously that's something that we recommend. Stone recommends that if you are using the machine very frequently, you may want to do that as often as 2 weeks, just as a way to replenish that water in the bottom of the boiler. I know Brian Tucker, who you've probably seen on many streams and videos, is a very big fan of that as well. Continuing on though, we do have our fill solenoid and then an OPV. We have not played with any kind of OPV adjustment at the moment, but like I said, stay tuned for our video because we'll get you all the details on that. Are we ready, Zach?
We're ready to go.
Cool. All right. I think this one will taste even better because we're going to brew it in our rocket cup here. I didn't try your original one, actually. But, Zach, just talk a little bit about our steam power here.
So, like I was saying earlier, it feels that of a dual boiler. It's pretty surprising in the fact that it can actually also reach into these deeper sort of like big belly sort of pitchers. So you can actually steam a lot more milk than a lot of other machines.
And I see, Oscar, I do think a shot timer, yes, would definitely be, I mean, they're a welcome addition to pretty much any machine, but if you are going to get a scale, ultimately you can kind of split the difference and use the timer on the scale, but you won't hear an argument from me there. But I will say this, to be honest with you, that there's a part of me that appreciates a machine that really kind of goes back to basics to, you know, an extent, right? Where these days where you do have a lot of digital components on machines, multiple gauges, flow controls, things like that, I think that there's some of the kind of traditional aesthetic that's lost. And to me, that's part of the beauty of Stone as a brand and as a product, is just the simplicity of the overall design. So I hear you, but at the same time, I do love it. Single piece steel T-frame. So yeah, essentially the frame though actually has bolts here that hold the vertical section, and then we do have one piece though that runs from front to back. And Zach, let's see.
All right, let's see if we can get like a little bit of an overhead here.
I was expecting maybe like a stone shape, you know what I mean?
Oh, you want me to do a stone shape?
Oh yeah, well you're talking about camera direction, I'm talking about your latte art here. I like a
gotcha.
stone, yeah. Pour me a stone, please.
Pour a stone. I don't think I could do that. Changing last second. A little bit of high pour. Yeah, let's just go into for a little Rosetta.
That milk looks great though,
Keep
honestly.
it simple.
And again, super compact machine, really, really impressive steaming performance though.
Definitely. So I'm sure people will count the seconds within the video that we did here, but I would assume that it was probably around 40 seconds or so.
Yeah, and I mean, I think too, it does sort of show, especially even on a smaller boiler size like this, we're only at around maybe 1.1, maybe 1.2 bar max in terms of steam. But the actual roll that you're able to achieve in the pitcher, the actual steam, performance, is quite good despite that lower pressure being displayed on the gauge.
Definitely. And you can't quite see it from there or anything like that, but there are, it is a 2-hole steam tip. I know a lot of people are very interested in, okay, why do we choose how many holes that we pick for a certain machine? This is usually chosen by the manufacturer themselves according to like how they want their steam and how it best fits. So you'll see some that have maybe a little bit of trouble with producing high quality steam or anything, might go like with a single hole. You'll find that occasionally. Or your dual boilers, you might have like a triple hole or 4-hole because it can do that. It's totally capable of doing so. So having a 2-hole on this one, I feel like is perfectly adequate. I wouldn't want to downsize to a single hole. I wouldn't really want to upsize to a 4-hole. I feel like this, right off the bat, I was able to find my spot and just go.
Yeah. So just a few last things. I see, Mr. Yumbo, when will Stone be available on your site? Check back maybe later this afternoon, but I would say probably next week. What is the advertised heat up time? Advertised heat up time is 10 minutes, but that's 10 minutes essentially to get the group heated and also the boiler. I would still do a intense flush to heat the portafilter, but when we do our full review, we'll be getting into even more specific details when it comes to machine particulars.
Yeah, so you'll be able to actually watch our tests for finding that.
But we wanted to actually show, we've got it here, and show it off just a little bit. So with that, I think it's time maybe we switch over to the Spluga, right?
Let's do it.
And Ron, are we good now? Give me a thumbs up if we're good for our little trailer. Perfect. So here's just a little teaser of our article that we've got. So Ron, thank you so much for everything that you do. Very cool. So the Spluga. So Zach, the Spluga is super interesting to me because honestly, they've got a really cool method of grind adjustment. And I think maybe, we talk a little bit about that first.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So let me move out of the way. And if Ron, we want to get close to the back here of the grinder, you can see obviously the Rocket logo. Leading your eyes basically up to this. So this is our worm gear adjustment. Ron, actually, can we do a different view so it's not, I feel like top of my head here, kind of want to see this little gear right here. So basically, the Spluga has what Rocket and team refer to as the quick release stepless micrometric adjustment. So what that means is we have a threaded worm gear that goes into the gear at the base of this bean hopper. And so that gear allows you obviously to make very specific and precise adjustments just using your thumb and forefinger. But if you needed to make a larger movement using the adjustment, you can actually pull the entire gear out and then you can freely rotate these burrs. And so to me, that's some innovation in a space that I feel like we really haven't seen much of. So the only other grinder that we carry that I think I've ever seen this kind of design is like the Chiato E37 SD, or maybe one of the Hero grinders.
Yeah, one of the Z's. So we're talking about a couple $1,000 more to
That's
be able
right.
to do this sort of adjustment, which I've always enjoyed that about our Hero grinder.
Yeah.
So you can quickly back it off, make large adjustments quickly and efficiently that way.
Yes.
So.
Well, and this is a very quick and very efficient grinder too. So I mean, obviously, if you're buying a rocket, having that big bold rocket logo is a huge part of the purchase decision, I'm sure. But obviously, it's like, well, how does it grind? So the Spluga is interesting because it features some design elements that were originally introduced in Rocket's Bicoca espresso machine. So it's the same design firm that they partnered with. And so that's the team behind the HMI that this machine has, which is the human-machine interface. So it's a touchscreen that you can program for a couple of different features. But just off the bat, let's go over some basics. This is a 65 millimeter flat burr grinder. It uses flat steel burrs. You have programmable dosing for single, double, and triple shots within 1/10 of a second. Oh, hello again. And you have the ability to customize your display and some of your operation too. So basically on the Spluga, you can choose between a few different color options. So like we're in the default, which is teal and green. We also have a kind of maroon orange set, as well as a yellow and brown set here.
In fact, I might actually grab our phone so we can see this a little bit closer up.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Zane.
Because the colors that you can actually change this, I think, contributes a lot to the general aesthetic and why we actually pair this specific grinder with this specific machine.
So we'll go back into our settings again. So this is under the display, and you have essentially your little paintbrush and your canvas there, and that lets you change. You can't make micro selections within here. You're essentially choosing a selection of color options, essentially. So you've got that. We also have the logo, which you can turn on and off, and then you have the ability to upload different screensavers. So there is a USB port on here. This is a feature that was also introduced on the Bicoca. And we can go through here, and then got a little wireframe of the machine, the classic rocket with the wrench, and then this one where if you get real close, Zach, you can maybe see there is a I believe a little SpongeBob on one of these. So it's like a little SpongeBob cameo. Oh, there he is.
There it
Yeah,
is.
there he is. So just a little silly fun there. But you have another feature too, so DTS, that's the dosing system, right? So you have standard mode, and then you also have essentially play mode, right? So these two modes control how you want to dispense grinds, either by pressing a button or using the micro switch. So we're using the Stone portafilter here, which we programmed to, I think, 16 grams using the default basket that's in here. That's about 5.15 seconds. So really, really fast, speeds of up to about 3.3 grams depending on your settings. So we'll do this. Really nice fluffy grinds, piling up mostly in the center here. Good distribution, and then if you want to go into the back there, Zach, we can show. That's obviously the adjustable blade that comes down that holds the portafilter in place. So really, really nice, really good design just in terms of being able to get any kind of equipment in there that does work for bottomless as well. And we did program a triple, so maybe if we want to show that off, we can grind bottomless as well. But you know, overall, I think too, the grind adjustment's really, really smooth. Like I said, you have worm gear adjustment, so it's a threaded gear all across the top burr. You can lock the hopper in using a little key on the side that you can screw in there too. Very fast, very quiet. I kind of like too this more kind of conical or cone-shaped design, right, with the grinder. So it's just, to me, you get a lot of grinders that like are maybe a little bit more symmetrical. I do like that this shape kind of goes up and then bells out again with the hopper, and then of course you have your rocket logo R on the hopper lid as well. So we have a question, it looks like from Persepolis. How does warranty work if I buy a grinder or the machine from Whole Latte Love from Canada? So we do have our Canadian store, and we do provide direct support for Canadians, either through our own team who handle tech support and troubleshooting questions and issues using services like our live tech troubleshooting via video. So you could be on a call kind of like this one, but with one of our techs who can help you through a problem. But we also have service partners in Canada as well. So depending where you are, Canada is a big place, obviously. So maybe you're all the way up in BC or something like that, or Newfoundland. But
definitely.
you know what I mean? We have service partners within Canada who would help you, or if you're close enough to our location, we're really close to Ontario, obviously being in New York, you might have your machine sent here for servicing too. So what sort of volume is this grinder for, like commercial settings? So Tate, that's a really good question. And what we're not seeing here is actually the Spluga's big brother. So there are two Spluga machines, and it's similar to Rocket's older Fausto models, right? So you had the Fausto and the Super Fausto. You have the Spluga, and then you have a higher level Spluga called the Spluga Elite. And so the Spluga Elite has a more powerful motor, and it also has an actively controlled fan to basically cool the grinder down. So I would say, to me, Spluga might be like your backup, maybe decaf grinder, but definitely a home grinder for sure. And then if you're looking for a main bar product, that's when I would really look at the Spluga Elite.
Yeah, definitely. So I would consider this as a decaf if I was putting it inside my shop, especially kind of seeing that small to big, and it's still going to keep that similar style too within the Rocket family.
Yes.
So from the actual customer side, if we're kind of facing the customer floor, it looks seamless.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that's why I love, again, if you look at the back of the grinder, you have the logo here. Rocket always tricks out the back of their machines, which I love, especially machines like the TCA, for example, with that stripe along the back. The Spluga Elite was actually just used in the Coffee and Good Spirits competition as the dedicated grinder for all of the competitors alongside the Bikoka, so it definitely can perform at that commercial level. The standard Spluga, which we have here, perfect for your home use.
Yep. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that we used it at the COE, so... or not COE. We used it at the Coffee and Good Spirits.
Yes.
So I thought it performed amazingly, especially the fact that it just continuously cools down your coffee. Because as we all know, if we're going to be pulling constant shots, heat is not our friend. So that's why specifically we would suggest that larger grinder for anything commercial.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, really, Zach, so what's happening, obviously, if the coffee is getting too hot before it actually starts extracting?
Yeah, so heat's not our friend when it comes to coffee, both brewing and coffee within our grinder. If we can smell our grinder while something's grinding or getting too hot, we're actually losing a lot of taste and aroma compounds, like before we even get to our shot. A lot of those taste and aroma compounds that we want in our final cup can so easily be just evaporated into the air. So if we keep things as cool as possible, we are more likely to trap those compounds, and they'll actually show in our final cup. So a lot of this has to do with like maybe the elasticity of our beans as well. If we're heating up our beans, our particle distribution is going to be way off.
Yeah.
We're not going to have anything consistent, and that's why I would suggest something that you have to kind of cool down your beans, or else all day you're going to try to keep up with yourself. You're going to constantly adjust your grinder with something like this.
Yeah, and I mean, and with a grinder like this one, obviously making those adjustments is pretty easy, but you obviously don't want to be doing that all day.
Yep.
So, well, I'll tell you what, Zach, maybe we've got some time. Let's pull a triple on this too. We'll show off the Stone again and the Spluga. So basically though, if you want to grab one of those portafilters that we have there.
Gotcha, and then we actually have some graphics put together kind of showing some of the specs of these grinders as well.
Yeah.
So just for further knowledge there, and a recap of what we've gone through so far, they are 65 millimeter burrs, plenty big. 1 millimeter bigger than 64s that you find on a lot of different grinders. It is completely stepless, as you saw that quick adjustment and that quick release makes it really easy to adjust. You can even go two hands at it.
That's right. You could if you wanted to, yeah. I mean, you can adjust from either side, though, which I think is, like, if you're left or right hand dominant, being able to grab with either hand and adjust is, to me, really nice.
So very customizable within that screen display. Kind of put whatever picture that you want in it, even SpongeBob.
That's right, even the SpongeBob. Yeah.
So we have a quick grinding speed as well, all made in Italy.
Yes.
One of the key factors that we really look for here at Whole Latte Love.
Yeah, and again, inspired too by that Giro d'Italia bike race. So we've got a Big Bang basket, obviously, in here. So this is one of the IMS. This is a oversized basket that we're using. The Big Bang, that pattern is designed to try and regroup coffee into the center of the basket, essentially. So if we take a quick peek here, I'll grab this from you. You can kind of see with our whole patterning a tighter concentration in the center, and then they spread out. So it's similar actually to Sauro's BIT, but achieving it in a different way, both trying to regroup coffee streams into the center.
So this is similar in theory in the fact that we know what's kind of happening within pressure within our baskets, that everything kind of wants to bypass to the outside rim kind of right away. So if we alleviate a lot of that to the center and kind of stop that flow along the sides, it'll actually want to more likely evenly extract our whole entire bed.
Right. And so I think too, though, getting things like this, the custom screens, and then also custom baskets is a way that you can begin to affect your extraction with a machine like this one, where maybe you don't have the same options as, say, something with, there we go. So that blade can actually come down further. We actually had it set up for the double, which is a little more secure, obviously, too, because you have the spout that goes in there, but you certainly can do bottomless. We would probably just lower that arm just a little bit more. But like I was saying, on a machine like this one where you are a little bit more limited, being able to change out your shower screen and your baskets can help you affect your overall extraction just through changing the dynamics of the basket and the flow of water rather than changing the temperature.
All right. So just like that, we have our next shot all ready to go. All right, should we go for it?
Let's do it. We may even need to dose a little higher in that one. We're pulling around 20 right now. That looks like we still had a little bit of headspace.
Sometimes there's only one way to find out.
That's true.
Taste everything, always.
And then while we've still got y'all here, do you have any other questions for us about the Stone or about the Spluga? Let's see. That is looking real nice. I don't know, Zach, if we have time to pull out the iPhone yet or not.
Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Not bad.
And I'll tell you what, let's do this. Just to show people again, I almost put a scale on top of a scale. The drip tray on the inside. So it's designed essentially where you have room to pull it forward in front, and then this section extends into the machine, which is where the solenoid valve discharges. So you can remove this whole piece, and then like I was saying, if you want to just show the little magnet on the back, that magnet there connects to the metal frame, which is why, again, if you let this get a little too full, you may find that you have to be very, very delicate when it comes to removing this, just to make sure that you don't get some coffee water on you. And I can attest that I have spilled coffee and water on myself more times than I care to admit, but obviously, you can always try to do better.
So we did confirm that that fits about 8 ounces or so?
8 ounces is my recommendation, just in terms of the overall max that you'd want. It can fit more than 8, but once you get to that point, you're really starting to get in the danger zone. And I will say, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. But even so, I'll take a sip of that shot if you don't want it to. Just a little afternoon pick-me-up here. And then, Ron, if you want to come back to us.
Oh, I was going to get the close-up.
Very good, actually. I think definitely a little sweeter, to be honest with you. I think updosing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to try that, actually.
I do, actually.
But, you know, updosing, changing your extraction obviously can make a pretty big difference in terms of just even a coffee if you don't have too many other things that you can affect on that. But I think we're definitely getting more sweetness there.
Definitely. Yeah, so a little bit more sweetness. I think I get a little more complexity out of it, too. Nothing wrong with doing 16 grams, maybe having to grind a little bit finer.
Yeah.
Also, when it comes to those larger depths of baskets that you can actually fit in this, then you're also having a little bit different of an extraction throughout the basket. One thing that this machine particularly does well that feels a little bit different is because of this cartridge and the PID at the top. I find that even with the resistance and the cooling of the shot, like while you're being pulled or while it's being pulled, it stays very consistent at that temp. So it tastes a little bit different than I've found with some other E61s that may have actually a little bit of a temp drop during your extraction, which can or can't be a good thing. It all depends on your dial-in process.
I think, too, that's a design space that's going to be explored as more people start to install cartridge heaters in the group. And so, Ron, if you want to pull up our Stone spec sheet that we have, just so we can go over the machine a little bit, and then actually give me the thumbs up. Do we also have the size comparison chart, too? Okay, well, you can pull that. Yeah, good. So let's go back to our spec sheet for now, though. So just to do a bit of a recap, under 9 inches wide, that is a electrically heated group. It's a 200 watt heating element, so the water is being heated as it's actually extracting, but still a 58 millimeter group that accepts E61 style portafilters and shower screens. So that means you have a lot of customization available in terms of different baskets, screens, and bottomless that you want. Stone's made in Italy just like Rocket. It is a heat exchange boiler, so you can brew and steam at the same time with sustainable and good pressure, 3-way solenoid valve, and then heats up in 10 minutes. Now let's take a look at how this machine stacks up against some others. So just by comparison, you can see the Apartmento TCA from sister brand Rocket is close to 2 inches wider by comparison. You get into a grind and brew territory with something like the grind and infuse Perfetta from Solus. You're looking at almost 12 inches, and then obviously you get up to a big guy like the Syncronica 2, you're looking at over 13 inches. So at just under 9 inches, this is going to be a machine that can fit in probably a lot more spaces than you might imagine. Not just a kitchen at home, but maybe something like a camper or a small cabin or a boat, perhaps.
Or the back of your truck. If you've seen our recent blog, I actually posted something about camping with your espresso machine. So if you're interested in that, definitely see that on our site, along with other blogs that we just posted. Like we mentioned earlier, our cycling and coffee, where we've been following along with Rocket, which you'll see on their Instagram and social as well, of some fun little local events that we've been doing.
Yeah, Rocket Espresso, you know, Brent Backhouse at Backy, obviously. Incredible guy, great story, really passionate about cycling, but also about coffee.
Yeah, and we worked with Danilo Lodi once again to actually bring you some more custom recipes that we actually did right in the mechanic's shop, right over at a local bike shop here in Rochester.
That's right. Read on. You can find out how to get your caffeine and your electrolytes.
Yep. It's pretty sweet.
Cool.
It's pretty good.
Well,
No
Zach,
complaints.
I think we're coming up to time here. So just to, for all of you watching, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, we do these streams every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do listen to your comments too. So if there are topics that you want to see us cover on a stream or maybe even in a future video, let us know. Can you put a flow control on it? So, James, that's a very good question. Right now, I would say the answer to that question is no. So the way that the group is engineered, and maybe, Ron, if we want to go back over to the internal Stone again, if you want to show us, Zach. Basically, the group is essentially just connected here to our water flow through the solenoid valve and then out. There's no valve actually built into this group assembly here, so we're not controlling the water. So it's a little bit actually like the La Marzocco Linea Mini in the sense that this is not a conical valve, it's really just a switch. And although it does look like you might actually be opening and closing a valve, you're really just pressing that switch there, and then once it's open, water flows out. So there is not a way to put flow control on this machine. But good question, James.
And that's exactly why I could go part way and not quite hit the switch here, and it's still not actually actuating.
So on an E61, once you start raising that lever past a certain point, you can open the valve without starting the pump, and you can do a little bit of a pre-infusion into the portafilter, but Obviously, too, now we see a lot of design in that space just in terms of pre-infusion features and functions. So kind of that old school method of doing things is still a good one, but there's lots of solutions for that now.
Again, with that temp consistency too, I feel like it provides a little bit of a different extraction. It's the same temp right away.
That's right.
There's a little bit of cooling right towards the front end of the shot because the coffee itself is a cool mass. And then right after that, straight up consistent temperatures throughout the extraction. So pretty sweet.
So anyway, I'm Nick.
I'm Zach.
Spluga grinder available now. Stone available very soon at Whole Latte Love. Thank you so much for joining us.
See you next time.